Ladies and gentlemen, the next few hours, as you'll see on the agenda, has been dedicated to government grants and tax incentives. Our first speakers are Dov Paluch from Catalyst Solutions, who will be joined by Christo Engelbrecht, also Director at Catalyst Solutions, and they'll be taking us through some international benchmarking in the incentive space.
Thanks, David. Just by way of introduction, Christo and I are directors of a company called Catalyst Solutions. We're involved and we specialize in government grants and tax incentives. And we really just wanted to discuss today, have a discussion around setting the scene for what's going to take place, I suppose, throughout the afternoon, where further on, Dwayne and Darren will be taking us into a more in-depth discussion on the various grants and incentives available in South Africa, capital incentives as well as the research and development tax incentive. And these are things that have been quite topical lately. I mean, if we look back to the first morning of the Indaba, where Judge Davis spoke about incentives and the need for incentives and to reduce the effective tax rates of companies. It's really quite topical. It's something that SAIT is looking into as well. They've recently set up a committee to provide guidance and recommendations to the government on things like the T-Lab that come out to make sure that the government's in touch with the industry and what's really required from incentives. So when we discuss grants and tax incentives, I suppose the first thing we need to do is we need to commend the government for the incentives that are currently in place and for introducing incentives. They're very important to the country. But really there are two main issues, I think, that need to be discussed. And the first one is the government incentivizing the right things? And the second is, are the incentives actually working? And we'll take you through that throughout the course of our discussion, where we'll take you through a bit of the background of incentives, introducing you to the various types of incentives that are available, and then go a bit deeper into what's currently in play in South Africa, and globally benchmarking those, including a particular case study on the research and development tax incentive, also very topical lately, and hopefully finalise with just some recommendations on the way forward and what government could be doing to take us to the next level of incentives. I think just generally to discuss incentives, to start with, we need to think about what are incentives for. And incentives really are providing some kind of benefit or some kind of financial assistance to motivate some form of economic action or to influence behavior in some way. And how does the government, why, I suppose, is there a need for incentives? If we look particularly at the South African environment, there's a lot of positives in terms of the South African economy, and a lot of it's been touched on in the Indaba as well, as we've gone over these few days. But really, when we have incentives are there to try and fix something. So they're there to influence behavior in a particular way. So what we want to touch on just very briefly is some of the issues within the South African economy, and what are the certain elements that the incentives are really trying to fix. So if we look at things that we can discuss, we're talking about high unemployment levels, there are economic growth issues, lack of small business support, and particularly low spend on innovation in South Africa. Particularly, and this is something that many presentations have touched on, if we look at growth issues, we know that there are global constraints on growth issues. So it's been highlighted several times already about the predicted 2% growth rate in South Africa, which is not high enough, it's something the government needs to work on. Unemployment in South Africa has